So, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar session. This is the first webinar that we are holding for 2023, and it is the first of a series of 4 that we are going to hold for our users this year. For those that have previously attended, you are aware that we try to keep the same agenda, so you know what to expect from our side. So as always, we are going to have a short introduction today about the things that we would like to bring to your attention. Then we will move forward with our guest presenters of the day, and we are delighted that today we have with us Belynda Gibbons from New South Wales Port Authority for Australia. I know, Belynda, that it's a bit late for you due to time zone difference, so thank you. And we are also having Žygimantas and Arūnas from Vilnius Technological University from Lithuania. Then we will move forward with some product news and what we have in development that will be presented from our product engineer and UX, Irma. And then we will have a few minutes left or whatever is needed for answering your questions. During the whole webinar, you can leave the questions in the chat, and you can always find all the links about the things that I'm gonna talk about soon. So, moving on. I would like to bring to your attention that you can always stay connected with us in many different ways. First of all, you can subscribe and register for our users newsletter. By registering, you can receive it directly in your email inbox, but always keep in mind that on our editor interface in OpenCities Planner, we have direct buttons for support, blog posts, and the forum. So you can always get notifications on the blog when there is a new webinar out, or a new newsletter, or an update for upcoming releases, or what everything is coming on. And there, as I said, there is a direct support button, so I strongly recommend to use that, so you can submit your support cases, to submit issues that you want our support, our assistance to report a bug, a problem that we have, or maybe suggest something. And always you can access the forum and access everything that is OpenCities related that other users have submitted. You can communicate with them, check what they have submitted, check also our answers. Moving on, I would like to bring to your attention that, as always, Bentley is organizing here in infrastructure, the Going Digital Awards in infrastructure. And it's an opportunity in this well-regarded global competition to nominate your project. Nominations are open, then they will remain open up until May 8th. You can find the link to get more information and also to nominate your project there in the chat. And you can be like Sydney Airport, one of our prominent users that last year they won in the Facilities, Campus and Cities category, a well-reserved award. So by nominating your project, you get great recognition, exciting rewards, and unique opportunities to network and promote your organization. And all projects will have the chance to be represented and presented during the celebration that will take place this year in Singapore. Without further ado, let's move on to our guest presenters of the day. We will begin with Belynda, and she will talk about her project, an attempt that they have to move from paper to pixels, as she mentioned before, and remapping Australia's East Coast ports. And then we will move on to Žygimantas and Arūnas, and their project that they're going to present the digital twin reality model that they have for Vilnius Tech campus. So, Belynda, I think that you can share your screen.
I've worked at the Port Authority for 12 years now, originally as a microstation user, working with the hydrographic survey team, creating paper charts from multi-beam survey data. First, I'd like to share a little background about the Port Authority of New South Wales. The organisation manages 6 ports that extend from the Port of Amber in the north, near the Queensland border, to the Port of Eden near the Victorian border in the south, some 500 nautical miles along the east coast of Australia. Across these ports, Port Authority delivers marine services, including harbour masters, marine pilotage, aids to navigation, vessel traffic services, emergency response, hydrographic surveying, port management, dangerous goods regulations, and cruise terminal operations. As you could appreciate, we cover a very diverse range of skill sets across the organisation, ranging from mariners, surveyors, both land and hydrographic, property management, planning, asset management, finance, and engineers, all with different information business needs. As our workforce has expanded, we saw that there was a need to better enable the sharing of knowledge across the organisation and make collaboration with external and internal stakeholders between the ports less complicated without needing to spend time travelling. The creators of the OpenCities Planner site are primarily from the survey and mapping team, which consists of hydrographic and land surveyors and microstation mapping professionals. Historically, the survey and mapping department created static property and engineering plans and hydrographic charts, supporting port management and corporate business needs. Chart and plan data were typically siloed from internal and external data sources and documentation, including external CAD files, hand-drafted plans, scanned CAD files, PDFs, and aerial images. As key people in the organisation retired and took their knowledge with them, or worse, left it in paper files, the need for a single data source became even more critical. To address the need for improving resource management, we started building our SQL database after being introduced to GeoWeb Publisher. OpenCities Planner followed a few years later, and we now generate visual representations of most of our ports with 2D data, and we're looking to add a full digital twin of all of our assets almost anything to our data in the next few years. Gone are the days of having to search through files to access documents. All our legislation documentation, both state and Commonwealth, is linked to the relevant visual element, so that it is able to be quickly and easily referenced when necessary. It's also a useful learning tool for new people in the organisation who generally have no idea why we have pretty coloured lines drawn in various locations. All of our navigation aids and other assets can also be linked to Content Manager, which is a document management system we use across all our sites. And we will soon also link to our asset management system, which will give a more complete record. We're still able to access all the static PDFs that everyone knows and loves, but the delivery method has definitely improved. As part of our cruise terminal operations, the harbour master is required to check and approve the berthing for all our cruise ships arriving at our berths. Our ship planning project allows a more interactive view of the keel of the ship overlaid on the latest hydrographic survey to better check the underkeel clearance. We're trialling different solutions to make the process more efficient for everyone involved. This is still in its infancy and only a 2D project, although we capture our hydrographic information in 3D, as we do not yet have a library of ships to use with it. All of our wharf infrastructure, including bollards and fenders, can now be displayed with the relevant information attached, making for improved decision-making support across planning, design, construction and operations, both internally and externally. Our tenancy information can be displayed visually and shared across the whole organisation so that both land-based and water-based decisions can be collaborative. As part of our Port Safety Operating Licence, we publish a berths and channels document on our external website, detailing the depths of all our berths and channels across all of our ports. This document requires a location plan, which was created on OCP and published as an external site so that anyone anywhere has access to this information. We have seen an increase in the site being used as a project planning tool by our teams across most of our business units. A separate project can be created in OCP for discussion and analysis between the relevant team contributors to determine if a project could successfully achieve its goals, ensuring resources are used in the most effective way. Planning is always on the most up-to-date information contained within the site, rather than through static PDFs being emailed around that may be out of date. Our harbour master teams can assess information before they release a harbour mast direction to mariners. New nav-aid positions can be discussed by our pilots. The heritage team can evaluate and share our listed assets with the state government. Our assets planning teams can collaborate with external contractors on a project at one of our terminals. The list is endless.
Thanks for allowing me to share my journey today, from paper to the OpenCities Planner project, which is set to become the main access point for cross-business spatial information. As we continue to build and grow the site, the reduction in time spent on responding to requests for information from within the different business units will increase team efficiency and will consequently have a reduction on our organisation's expenditure.
Thank you so much, Belynda, for sharing your project today. It was so good hearing how you are using OpenCities Planner and how this has made your work more efficient and effective, and how it has enabled you to reduce time. So if someone has a question, I would like you to leave them on the chat, so Belynda and the rest of the guest presenters can also address them later. And I think that we can now move to the second guest presenter of the day from Vilnius Technical University. So I would like to ask them to start sharing the screen, and please enable sound before doing that if you're having videos with sound on.
Good morning. I am Arūnas Urbšys from company NRE, Bentley channel partner in Lithuania. Today we are presenting together with our colleagues from Vilnius Tech University, Žygimantas, Pagalys. We, as a Bentley channel partner, cooperating with Vilnius Tech University since 2007, when they became Bentley Academic Campus subscribers, and in 2016 we have made together with Vilnius Tech first pilot project on digital city, creating a prototype of Vilnius Tech campus. We used reality mesh, building information modeling solutions to join those technologies together and demonstrate the capabilities of digital cities. So afterwards, Vilnius Tech University has invested in OpenCities Planner technology investigation and created the campus digital twin. So I will let Žygimantas to present this project today.
So hello everyone, and yes, today I will present digital twin of Saulėtekis. So what we've done, So our idea and vision was to turn Vilnius Tech Saulėtekio campus in a repository of information where we can store all the data we have from earlier inventions and doing something. We had a photogrammetry model of a university campus. So we thought about a digital twin, and we had an OpenCities Planner idea. So what we did is created the data. We took platform as OpenCities Planner and bring all the data to OpenCities Planner to create some kind of digital twin for our university students and other participants. So our process was to just, we had a reality model, we created it and brought to OpenCities Planner, and then we added some BIM models, And of course, we had one test drive of iModel, university's central building. And then where we are now is that we have a university campus and information source for university and students. So Saulėtekis reality model, we have a building of universities, iModel implementation and BIM models, and we have a lot of point of interest for data representation and other information of university. And we think about future. So for the future, we would love to see IoT sensors or other Vilnius Tech campuses digitized, just like Saulėtekis campus. And I guess we created a short video for you to understand how it looks like for real. So just you can watch, yeah.
Is it supposed to have sound?
No, it
Okay.
doesn't. It's
Okay.
just representation.
Žygimantas just tried to comment on the game.
Yeah, so as I talked, we have a lot of points of interest. It's very good for information detalization for students to understand where is one or other building, because it's our university problem. We have complex names of buildings. So firstly, we brought up a point of interest. There's a lot of them. We created links in that, and you can go to other information from point of interest. Then we have a 4D simulation, and here you can see a model of our central building. Of course, we can go inside the building. We have Aula Magna virtual and you can just walk around in that building. It's all created by 360 photos, so it's more like for visual understanding. Also, I talked about BIM models, so here they are. We have 3 BIM models of our future buildings. For real, this too is already built. So we have in reality, maybe we can just create reality models of them now. And another one. Yes, you can jump to other pages from our digital twin. And other manipulation or tools.
And if I can top something while you're sharing your project, this specific project is the one that has the most page views, the most unique page views for the past few months. So it's the most visited OpenCities Planner project from every user that we have. So that is why we wanted you to show us today what you have been doing with your digital twin over the whole campus, and how this has enabled passing information as a single source of truth to so many users that don't have the knowledge behind how to use that. It's very friendly, it's very easy, you know exactly how to use that, and that has been provided as a tool to every student that is visiting the university.
Yes, we took our link to Vilnius Tech page, so it maybe helped to brought more people to our digital twin. But mostly it was for students to understand university more easier. And I guess that's it.
Thank you so much as well for demoing your project today.
We have some others present. Yeah, you saw for our central building, and we have a simulation how our central building was built in 4D by Synchro. So I can show it too.
Definitely, thank you.
It's short video, but it's kind of representative.
This simulation video was supposed to be accessible from the reality model as well, but currently there are only screenshots, so Žygimantas decided to include it in the presentation. And the final slide about the future.
Yeah. 1 second. So, and the other future that we see, we are started to create a reality model of Linkmenų town. It's our Linkmenų Fabrica, where is our Linkmenų Fabricas and Aviation Institute. And we thinking about creating another digital twin for the Linkmenų town. And also you see that on our Linkmenų Fabricas roof, there is a D-Box autonomous drone station that can help scan this town more easiest. But maybe Arūnas can comment more on that.
The D-Box is a Lithuanian innovation for automatic charging of drones. So a drone is operated remotely, and he flies down to this box and charges automatically, changes actually batteries with a robotic hand, and the drone is ready for next operation in a minute. So we have partnership with this company producing this D-Box technology, and it is used by Vilnius city municipality. And one of those boxes is located on the roof of one of Vilnius Tech buildings. So they took the opportunity to capture the reality data of that location as well, although it's quite far away from main Vilnius campus area. But the idea is always to allow students to easily navigate among widely distributed buildings of Vilnius Tech University, because sometimes it's difficult to find when the next lecture will be in which building. So that was one of the main ideas. And I see there are a couple of questions in the chat. Should we answer them or leave?
Yes. So if you're done with your presentation now, thank you as well. I think that we can, at this point, answer the questions that we have from our users in the chat. So the first is also about you, Žygimantas. What are your next use cases? I think that you show us this with the new digital twin that you are creating. So any other plans?
Firstly, we want to create a Linkmenų town, and then we have a couple of other Vilnius Tech campuses. So we want to create them too.
Okay.
So
And how much time did it take you to create a reality model?
I can 1 second, maybe it's about a month to, it's not too long for real. Linkmenų Fabrikas reality model, Linkmenų Town reality model was for about 2 weeks long work.
Okay. And another question, the building walkthrough, was that a video or could the user navigate through it like a reality model via the pop-up window?
This Matterport technology, the embedded window which pops up from the reality model, and you can walk through freely.
Do we have any other questions for our guest presenters? If not, I think that we can move to the next section. And still, if you have more questions, you can still leave them on the chat and we can address all of them at the end of the webinar. So I think that I can give now the screen sharing to my colleague Irma, that she will talk you through what are all our new updates, new releases, new features and functions, and what we have in development. So Irma, the screen is yours.
Okay, so I'm doing a U1 today. I'm going to present the product news and what's in development. Unfortunately, we don't have any tips and tricks prepared for today, but I'm hoping the product news is going to be more than enough or interesting enough. So the first thing that to mention is something we are focusing almost entirely on, and that is reliability and performance. We've been hearing from our users some feedback that the performance hasn't been the best and it's not very reliable. Things sometimes show, sometimes they don't. They don't know when they're about to expect something, a model or anything they clicked on, content to show on the map or not. So that is the basis of the food pyramid, except not food. So yeah, without reliability and performance, of course, we can't continue developing new features. So we decided to pause everything and focus on this. So we've been targeting this topic from many angles. These angles are kind of listed here as headers. One of the angle is content configuration. Another one is UX, UI, so any kind of signalization in the interface. App startup time, content loading time, and rendering performance. I'm going to go through all the sections and explain what we have been working on. First, content configuration is more a communication with our users where we try to explain that there are simply best ways to do things and also limitations to what you do, meaning that when you're creating or building these OCP projects, you have to have in mind also kind of the maximum capacity of all the data you're showing. We don't have a cap of everything you can bring into your project, but of course, the more content you bring and the heavier the content is, it's going to slow down the project. So having in mind to have a project that's showing only the most necessary things per step is going to lead to a better performance in the project. So we want to assist our users in making kind of the best version of their project so they don't have any issues or the performance is the best possible for their use case. So that's one. Figuring out is the project in its best form? How can we get it to be in its best form? Second, which is actually the first here listed, is map dataset configuration. So there are things that can be done to map datasets for the data to be lighter, to be shown faster. So if there is a layer in your project that is super heavy, and you notice this when you toggle it off, it's just everything is lagging so much. There are things that can be done with the map dataset and the configuration for it to just simply render faster. So we want to advise our users when they have these issues how to make better performance on these layers. And the third one is start page portal project structure. There are tips and tricks on how to make this kind of run smoother. One of them is to have the content the same in all the 3 levels. So if you have a background, it would be best if that's the same background from the start page to the portal to the project, because then we don't reload the content. Instead, we load it in the first level and then it stays the same throughout. So you don't see any kind of, black or gray backgrounds when you open, for example, a portal. So there are tips and tricks in this sense as well that can enhance the performance. So that's all content configuration. This lies heavy on the admin user creating the project in the best possible way. And of course, we are here to assist in them achieving this best possible way of their projects. Second one is user interface. So everything else I'm going to be talking about is now our responsibility, things that we can be better at. So user interface, we are not very good at indicating that things are about to show up. So that's something we are working on, progress bars. So you click on something and then something is telling you, wait a bit. So we have been doing a lot of research. How do we figure out how long it takes, for example, an iModel to show up in the interface? How can we visualize this to the user? It's not there yet, it's coming, etc. So I've been doing a lot of testing with this in terms of technology. What are the levels or sizes of iModels? How can we figure this out? And in terms of UX UI, what are the best progress bars, progress indicators in general that we can add to communicate this? So that's one of the things we've been working on. Error messages right now, they show us tooltips. For example, if an iModel doesn't load, it's not too good. It's a message, but it doesn't really show you what happened exactly. Do I not have access right? Has something been timed out? What is the reason I can't see my iModel, and what do I do? So we're investigating error messages. We're trying to figure out, are there like categories of these error messages that show up in OCP, and what can we do to make them more user-friendly in terms of text? So the error message means something to you. It's not just 404 something something. And can we suggest something like an action that you can do when something goes bad, that you can fix this? So these are some of the things that we're working on in terms of UX. Then application startup time. We've been working on code optimization. What that means is, so when you come to your OCP project for the first time, when it starts loading the content, that takes a while. And we've had one of the developers figure out what is happening here with the code. Can we optimize it a bit so just plain old things can show up faster? And there has been some finds that are that I think were pretty drastic in terms of size. We went from 28 megabytes of content loading up to 4 megabytes, which is it's a huge size. Unfortunately, we didn't have telemetry implemented in OCP before we started this optimization, so that we can measure from what time did we start with to what time are we now. So instead we have size, like we went from something heavy to light, but unfortunately we can't present that we went from like 50 seconds to 4 seconds. But it has been empirically like tested by us, and really is it's gonna be faster, is what I'm saying. So we've done something in terms of code optimization for the startup time so that the project loads faster. The third, or no, this is the fourth chapter, which is content loading time. Oh no, that was the content loading time. Okay. So what was the app startup time? App startup time is when you see that iTwin logo spinner before you enter the OCP project at all. So before you even start seeing content showing up, you have this like, you logged in and then you wait a bit. So that is not something, unfortunately, our team has the rights or the power to do anything about it, but we have a separate team figuring out if they can do the same thing we did with the code optimization in loading time that we did. So this is going to be handled by another team. We still don't know what they're going to find. If maybe the code is optimized and this is the fastest way we can start up OCP after you log in, but maybe not. So we are still exploring that topic here. Then we have rendering performance. this is connected to frame per second, and this is connected to what I spoke in the beginning. So if you have a very, very content heavy project, as you spin around or zoom in, zoom out, you might experience lagging. It's just your frame per second is very, very low, and then that's just not a good experience. Everything is slow, that it's makes it a bit too difficult to wait for you to get the results that you need, but also difficult to navigate. So we're trying to figure out, is there anything we can do to make the content that is by default heavy lighter? So we are doing some testings on our side with our developers. Can we do anything with the content that we are kind of responsible of? But there's also another team working on this, which is the iTwin platform team, and they are handling iModels. And it's mostly these iModels that are gigantic that cause the frame rate per second to fall. So most of the rendering performance is unfortunately going to be in the hands of another team, not ours. So we can't, know exactly when things are going to get better and what the status of things is. But it is in progress, and we have heard some rumors of drastic improvement, but I'm not going to say anything about that until we know for sure, until we know more about it. But it's not just our team that's working on reliability and performance. It has been kind of mobilized throughout Bentley that we get things better and faster, basically. So this has been super important for us. As mentioned, we kind of have completely focused on making this better because we want to run things smoother, and we want to not have error messages pop up, of course. We want OCP to be as stable and performant as possible. So I've been focusing on this last sprint, and we're going to focus on this next sprint, and hopefully with the next release, we're going to start to see some changes. But some of the things are still going to take a while to develop. Some of these chunks are pretty heavy and require pretty big teams to make more significant changes. So I think that's all on this topic. Dora, if you can. Yeah, thank you. So this has been released in January. It is a locate me feature for mobile. It's by default going to show up to all of your projects. You're going to have that navigate icon that's kind of pretty common in all these types of applications. So when you click on it, it's going to show you where you are in the map. So this is pretty important for anybody who is like a field worker, so that they can, while they're working, see where they are exactly in a campus or wherever it is that they are needing the information from a project. So for citizens as well, in case you have submitted something, a project for the citizens, if you want them to leave a comment on a specific area, now it's going to work like Google Maps. They're basically going to know where they are in the map. They can take a picture of whatever they're looking at and then submit that. So those are the whys. So how does it work? As mentioned, there's a locate me button. It's going to move you to where you are. There's a blue button on the map that's going to indicate that this is your location. It's not always going to be on because our users are, I would say, not Google Map users. So our users are users that are usually looking at some kind of content on the map. So we don't want to make things heavy in terms of a lot of icons, buttons, and everything. So if you do not want to see the blue button, you can, of course, turn it off and just explore the content as you have before. So this has been released in January, and you can all test it on your mobiles. Of course, it's not going to work. You're not going to see the blue icon if you're not in the area of your map. So if you just have an area of a specific city and you're in a different city, you are not going to see yourself, obviously. So you have to be in the location where you have the map. Okay, so then we have the multi-select features. This has also been released in January, and this is basically a multi-select tool. It's not for like moving things, like multi-selecting several elements and then moving them or changing them or anything like that. It's mostly for looking at the attributes or the information that is inside of a thing that you clicked. So if you, for example, click on a shapefile, you see the attributes, but now you can click on 2 shapefiles and see both of the attributes, or 75 shapefiles. So anything that it has attributes in it, so that's just a feature layer, feature building of any sort. Now you can choose to multi-select it. You're going to see all the attributes on the side, like a table with a combination of all that information. And what you are also going to be able to do is export that, whether in Excel or a PDF. So I think that's all for multi-select. iOS fixes. We've been having issues with iOS recently because every time we would try to load an OCP project, it would just crash. So it wasn't for the reasons that it was too heavy. It was just an issue we had with iOS. So this was fixed because all it says here, because bugs should be fixed and because mobile is important. We are obviously, with this product news, you'll see that we have literally 3 updates for mobile. So yeah, mobile is very important for us. The first one was to have the locate me on mobile, then iOS fixes, and I think the next one is also for mobile, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, so mobile search. So now we have enabled a search function to also work on mobile. So there's a search button here in the interface added right below the locate me button. So what happens when you click on it is that, yeah, exactly. So what happens when you click on it, you'll get a side panel, and then there you'll type whatever you need to search and you'll get a list. And then you can select from a list and then see that object that you've selected from a list in a map. So the same way that it works on your desktop application, it's going to work on mobile as well. So this is also good for field workers. So now they can locate themselves on a map, but also search for something that they need right away from wherever they are. So we're trying to make OCP as much mobile friendly as possible, so that there are no restrictions on whether you're using it from home or directly on the field. Let me see if I missed anything. Yeah, search mobile, show results. Aha, yeah, so there's the last point too. I mean, it's obvious, but just maybe it's important to state. So if you have the search activated in your project, it will now automatically be activated in the mobile. There's nothing additional that you have to do to activate it specifically for mobile. It just will work automatically. Okay, now we can go to the next slide. Yes. I know one specific user that will be very happy for this release, and we do apologize for waiting this long. But so now we have showroom idle animations. I say now, it's actually, the release is, I think, today. So from today, if not tomorrow, but I think it is today. We have showroom idle animation support again. So what does that mean? If you remember, we had an old legacy version of Showroom. Then we built a newer version of Showroom that was going to support iModels as well. So then we had to kind of rebuild or re-support some of the features we had from before. And one of those features was these idle animations. So what that means, it was a fancy kind of jump if you have like several portals and projects connected to each other. It was somehow, it would like in a very smooth, nice way jump from one project to another and then do like some kind of rotation over the viewpoints. It's basically kind of like a screensaver mode from when you're not clicking on your, entire screen for a long period of time, and then it starts doing these rotations so that it becomes like eye candy for anybody who's passing and you want to attract them to come and explore this project. So we thought it was, and our users agreed, it was a very important feature to make it more attractive, so that people can come and engage and explore what is this project about. So that is basic. It's not adding new functionalities. It's just a fancy kind of navigation through all of your projects to attract users to come and see it. I kind of downplayed it, but I do think it's a very important feature. So we finally are releasing it today. So I hope our user is going to be happy. Okay, the next one. Improved iModel configuration. So we've been preparing this for a while. What this one does is, right now, if you have an iModel, you can only basically drag and drop one model to create an iModel. So, we have the drag and drop feature. You don't have to go through that very time-consuming and complex way of creating your iModels if you go through the Bentley way, the legacy Bentley way. So we support drag and drop, but our drag and drop is very, very limited in terms of if you want to drag and drop several models into your iModel, then we don't know which one of those models is the georeferencing file. So now we do. There is a step where you can choose the connector type for each type of file, which we didn't have support for, and now we do. Why that is important? The connector is kind of like a translator. You for example, grab a Revit file that has its own way in which it structures the information, and then you have a connector which is like a bridge, and then you have an iModel. So you have to put that Revit file through the bridge, and there the data gets changed a bit, and then the output is the iModel. So what you want is your original file to use the correct bridge so that it gets correctly exported into an iModel, so that you don't lose any data. And for this, it is a bit of a manual task, because the user will know exactly where they created their file from. If we do that automatically, we could use the wrong bridge and then, not lose information, but store the information a bit differently. That might just mess up the attributes. So that's why the connectors are important. So now we actually have full support over you dragging and dropping multiple models, configuring them correctly, and then showing up correctly in your project. So this is going to be hopefully released with our next release, which is sometime around April. A pretty important one, I would say. Yes. The next one is iModel relocate setting. Now, this is, to me, super important. And I think some of our users are going to be very, very happy with this. This is basically phase one of move your iModel without getting headaches. You're still going to get headaches because it's not as good as we usually relocate things, 3D models, and our legacy users know this. It's usually select a 3D model, select the location where you want to place it, and then click there, and then the model is there. So we're not there yet. But we do have phase one, and phase one is you add your iModel to the scene, and it falls where it falls. And then by using coordinates, you can nudge it around left and right. So this is going to, if your iModel is very close, this is going to be great because it's not going to be that much work to get it in the right position. But if your iModel is on the other side of the planet, then you're going to have to be a bit creative on how do you get the coordinates right. But it is something, I would say. It's going to make some of our users way happier. Some are still going to have to wait for the actual reposition thing. I see Berit is already. I remember your pain. Yeah, so again, this is phase one. It's not optimal, but I think it's big and it's moving in the right direction. So thing to note here is that it's not going to change the position of your original model. It's also not going to create a duplicate, which is how I thought it worked. But yesterday I chatted with a colleague. What we do is in Data Manager, we store some kind of, I'm not a technical person, we store some kind of code in Data Manager which moves the iModel just in OCP. So if you have your iModel in Connect Bentley or using it in other Bentley applications, that's still going to be in the same location as how you import it. It's just that in OCP, if you apply these changes, they get stored in our data manager, and they are only going to be, these changes are only going to be visible in OCP. Yes, I think that's it.
I
Okay. Yeah.
think that's it as well. So thanks, Irma, about
Sure.
that. I think that most of our users find it really interesting. So before checking if we have more questions, just to remind you that if you want to present your project, your use case to one of our upcoming webinars in like around 3 months from now, you can find my email on the chat here as well, and you can let me know so we can arrange something that you could saw today from New South Wales and from Vilnius. And if you have more questions right now, I would like you to leave them on the chat. If not, but we can wait. Just remind you that the recording of this session will be available afterwards for everyone. I will submit that, and you can find the recording as well under our in our help page in OpenCities Planner Editor under webinars. So let's check if we have any more questions. If not, I think that we are on time for today. We have one that says roughly estimate for UX interface refresh. A comment here, Irma.
What does it say? Rough estimate for UX interface refresh. Yeah, that's a good question, because you were in contact with us when we were experimenting and kind of figuring out if we're in the right direction with our new UI facelift. So we have been working on developing that heavily until these performance issues started kind of coming to the surface. While we were presenting the new UI to some of our users, we also got as feedback, it's great, but also, these things are a bit slow. So we kind of put a pause on that, and we want to focus first on things working as they should, as smooth as possible. And then once that's done, and I'm assuming we should approach some kind of result in the next sprint, we are going to go back to doing to finishing up the new UI. In terms of time, it's impossible to say, but it's after this performance thing, it's absolutely the next thing that we're finishing up in terms of development. So I would say soon. I know that's very abstract, but giving exact time would just be kind of misleading, I think.
The next question is, how does the search function work, and how do you define what to search?
So the search function, we had been developing another type of search function, which was like an advanced search function, a query. So this is not that. We have a simple search that used to work since our legacy times, where you have several ways in which you can enable it. If you have feature layers in Data Manager, there's an option for you to just enable to search those feature layers. Joanna, I don't know, maybe I don't think you're muted, but if you can ask more directly what you're interested in, because you can search for addresses, for example, if you add a shapefile with the information of the addresses, that would work on search. So basically, any kind of data you have. Okay, you never used it. Okay, so maybe in short, any kind of data that you have in Data Manager that has attributes, that is searchable, but you can also import a file with like addresses if you want to enable users to kind of search for an address. That is also searchable. I hope that answers the question. Okay.
Yeah, I think it does.
Okay, what does Arūnas say? When iModel-enabled projects will be available for public access? That's a fantastic question. I think Yuan should answer that. It's been prioritized, I would say, pretty highly until recently with these new UI refreshes and the performance that we kind of shifted focus on. It's on our backlog. It's like prepared. Everything is designed already. It's just we need to put it somewhere in priority in the development line. But this is kind of on you want to comment.
Yeah, and it has been down prioritized a little bit because of these other projects. So currently, I wouldn't be able to promise any timeline for that. If it's an important feature, I mean, let us know. Make sure you are vocal about the things that are important to you, and because that helps us prioritize. So right now, we have not seen the need for public iModel as high as other things like the fundamental reliability and performance, or the new UX, or things like that. So it has been down prioritized, but priors change. So be vocal about the things that you need and tell us why you need them. That helps us.
Okay.
Now I can just add on the search.
Yes, please.
Question as well. The way you activate it is you go into the data manager, and then on map data sets for feature data sets, you can choose which attributes should be searchable. And then within your projects, you can go into the search functionality and select which map data sets you want to use in a particular project. So that's how you enable it. And then you enable it both for web, showroom, and for mobile.
Nirma pasted the link here. So I think that we are over our time today, like 5 minutes. I think we answered all of the questions so far. So if you have more questions, you can always send us an email, or you can directly support us, directly submit a support ticket, and you can ask more stuff there. So I think we're done for today. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day, and we hope to see you all again in one of our upcoming webinars. Have a nice day. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.